Heyo, and what is up, gang? Thank you for checking out Sledgehammer TV tonight. SmackDown Live threw a couple of curveballs at us on the road to WrestleMania. Big time twists and turns, all making huge implications to the main event of this year's WrestleMania, and we are going to talk about it. Why did this happen, did you ask? I am here to give you the answer. My name is Nick Nightmare, and you are watching the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show's SmackDown Live review. Let's do it.
Sledgehammer Wrestling Show.
Alright, wrestling fans, thank you so much for joining me once again on this road to WrestleMania, and the WWE had no choice but to put the SmackDown Live Women's Championship in that main event between Ronda Rousey, Becky Lynch, and now your new SmackDown Live Women's Champion, Charlotte Flair. They had no choice. This wasn't some board meeting full of executives going, Mr. McMahon, what can we do to make it even better for Ronda and everything? It had nothing to do with that. You look at it on paper, everybody, and the SmackDown Live Women's Division, ever since Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch's attention has turned to Ronda Rousey, has been absolute garbage. How that's possible, I don't know. I don't know how they can look at the girls that they have and say, oh, well, we can't do nothing with this. You got talent like Naomi, who's a bona fide athlete in that ring. They've been trying and failing every single time with Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville. You got somebody like Nikki Cross on the roster for so long. She's been called up from NXT for so long that it is unfathomable to me that they could not have made her a viable enough contender by the time we've hit this point at WrestleMania season to make her a threat to Asuka, so we could have two high-profile Women's Championship matchups at WrestleMania this year. But they didn't do that. Ever since Asuka's been the champion, let's be honest, I'm one of the biggest Asuka guys there is, much like most of you guys are as well. And you have to be honest with yourself, and you know Asuka as champion has been trash. They've got nothing for this girl. They've built up nobody as a contender to her throne. And outside of Charlotte Flair, who was there in your mind coming out of the Royal Rumble that was going to challenge Asuka by the time we got to WrestleMania? Becky Lynch, we thought, was going one-on-one with Ronda Rousey. It was a no-brainer. Charlotte Flair versus Asuka 2 at WrestleMania for the SmackDown Live Championship, and we were all very content with that. But then the WWE throws Charlotte Flair into that Raw Women's Championship match, and everything went to shit. So this tremendous moment tonight for Charlotte Flair, this adding to her accolades, was nothing more than the WWE coming out of sheer desperation and stumbling upon a way to make the match at the main event spot in this year's WrestleMania even bigger. Maybe it will be a WrestleMania by the time all is said and done. But what does this mean? They did not really get into it so much. All we know as of this moment is that both championships will be featured in this matchup. Charlotte Flair is now the SmackDown Live Women's Champion. Ronda Rousey, the Raw Women's Champion. And Becky Lynch sits there. The cheese stands alone, right? She's the only one walking in there without a belt. She might be walking out of there with both belts by the time WrestleMania is done. But if this is a unification match, which that word has not been uttered once on WWE TV, it will be the greatest thing that has ever happened to the women's division. You have the champion float from show to show like they're going to be doing with the women's tag team division, and it will make for a much better women's division all around, and I will embrace it fully. And when we have the brand split sometime after WrestleMania, They should implement that and make that a stipulation in the women's division. Maybe even do it for the men's tag team divisions as well, and leave the single championships exclusive for the men on both brands. It would just make the overall product better. It's something that we were wishing and hoping for since the initial draft 2 years ago, but that was not the case. But we don't know if that's truly what's going to happen here, or if the one girl is just going to be walking around with 2 belts for a while, or it was going to have to give up one of the 2 championships. But another thing I want to throw past you guys just for a quick second is, if that's truly what's going to happen, it is quite possible that Ronda Rousey is going to retain the Raw Women's Championship at WrestleMania, while also getting the SmackDown Live Women's Championship, so that she can be on both shows if they decide not to unify both championships, which would be absurd to do this and not actually just make it one belt, so that Fox can have what they want and have Ronda Rousey on their show as well. We don't know, man. There's a lot of questions being thrown at us with this curveball that the WWE threw down the pipe tonight, and it's just a shame. The person that gets hurt the most is Asuka. How they could see no value in Asuka and not see her as something of a spectacle at WrestleMania, something to behold. We know how the WWE main roster has shit all over her ever since she's came up from NXT. Triple H is probably regretting the minute he made the agreement for her to go up and be part of this circus that they call the WWE, and it's just a goddamn shame. She's going to be relegated to what? Are we going to have another fucking women's battle royal that nobody's going to give a shit about? It's not what I want to see. But they have nobody to blame but themselves. WWE Creative has not given Asuka a challenger, so there was no real reason to leave the belt on her unless they were going to do what I had suggested last week or the week before, whenever I said it on this very show, which was just to add Asuka to that matchup and make it a fatal 4-way and have the 2 championships up for grabs. You could have brought in a whole nother dynamic, made it much more of a worldwide matchup. You could have brought the whole continent of Asia in on board and really got over with the whole entire universe in all aspects of the world, whether it would be in Japan or in Scotland or here in the States, or if you're a big Charlotte Flair guy, if you're a big Becky Lynch mark, whatever it is, you would be in this matchup. If you were for Ronda Rousey, you would be involved in this matchup, and then you bring in that New Japan buzzsaw type flavor of Asuka, and it's really become an unpredictable playing field, and I think it would have been great. And it would have shown a lot more respect for Asuka, even if she ended up losing in that main event, which would have been the case. But doing it this way, 13 days away, 13 nights away from WrestleMania, and you take the championship away from Asuka, just more disrespect to people with championships, as we were talking about last night on the Monday Night Raw review. And you want to talk about a little bit disrespectful? I'm going to tell you guys that the WWE is disrespectful to us once again, because how many times can we get gauntlet matches? Really, you guys, come on. I enjoy a good gauntlet match, but this whole thing seems ass backwards. What happened tonight should have been the first thing that happened on Kofi Kingston's road to WrestleMania. Somehow or another, this tag team matchup where the team earned the spot at WrestleMania and then maybe deemed Kofi the representative for the New Day should have been the way this whole thing kicked off. Instead of this weird, he's just replacing Mustafa Ali, who's now only going to be known as Ali, and now we are on this unplanned road to WrestleMania for Kofi Kingston, and KofiMania is sweeping the entirety of the WWE Universe, and we are firmly on board with it. I just don't like the fact that Kofi Kingston, after everything he's been put through by Vince McMahon, finally makes his way into the matchup and has absolutely fucking nothing to do with it. The guy's put on some of the most stellar performances we have seen in the WWE. He pulled off the damn near impossible in a very unbelievable fashion in beating 5 of the top heels in all of professional wrestling last week. And as unbelievable as that may be, this tonight was at least a little bit more believable, because you can sell me on the fact that any combination of the New Day is going to be able to take out Luke Gallows, Carl Anderson, Rusev and Shinsuke Nakamura, The Bar, and even possibly the Usos if they didn't forfeit, because the New Day has in fact beaten all of those tandems one time or another before, in high-stakes events at some points when you're talking about the Usos. So it's a little bit more believable to see Big E and Xavier Woods run the gauntlet through the entirety of the SmackDown Live tag team division than it is to see Kofi Kingston do it as he did last week. So that's the one good thing about it. And it was very entertaining, and it was a good match, and by the end of it, everybody was on their feet in the arena, and everybody in the back was all happy because Kofi Kingston finally is now in the main event of WrestleMania versus Daniel Bryan for the WWE Championship, and just seemed a little anticlimactic to me. Kofi Kingston having to run out to the ring to celebrate, even though this was his moment. It just seemed a little bit ass backwards. And while I appreciate the fact that they finally have stopped playing games and have set the match and it is going to be what we all want it to be, this was not really, in my opinion, the best way to go about it. In fact, if you were going to give Kofi Kingston the match, it should have been just given to him last week. There was no reason for them to extend this, only to have the two other guys in the New Day that are not Kofi Kingston be the one to earn his championship match for him. And I don't even care if this is going to lead to the New Day turning heel on Kofi or whatever crazy plans they might have in store for WrestleMania in order to maybe keep the strap on Daniel Bryan. You'll have Big E turn on him, or have the New Day do something against Kofi Kingston, or maybe that's not the plan. Maybe Kofi Kingston's going to win. We won't know until WrestleMania actually happens. But regardless what the plans might be, I mean, that's not really something I would want to see at this point. It just doesn't really make sense to have them earn Kofi Kingston this opportunity. And while I understand Brotherhood and everybody being all on board and everything, it just didn't come across the way I think they intended for it to actually come across. Let's go down the entirety of this card. The show kicked off with the New Day making a plea to Vince McMahon to come out there and let's hash this thing out. Vince McMahon obliges and comes out there and fumbles all over his words. The man has lost his step in every sense of the way. He is terrible on the microphone. I do not enjoy Vince McMahon's promos anymore, and it's just time for the guy to hang it up in all aspects. Go do something else. Go pretend to play football with your XFL buddies. Leave the WWE in better hands and stay off camera, because he can't even deliver the simplest of lines anymore, and he just comes off absolutely terribly, and it's not anything that I truly enjoy. Daniel Bryan came out and tried to ruin everything, trying to get into Vince McMahon's head, but Vince McMahon booked this gauntlet match tonight for the New Day to go through, and on we would go with the show. We would have this impromptu SmackDown Women's Championship matchup, which we touched upon, Charlotte Flair versus Asuka, where Charlotte Flair would shock the world and beat the Empress of Tomorrow, all to prove that she deserves to be in the main event of WrestleMania after she was being questioned by Becky Lynch as to what it is exactly she has done in the last year to make it into the spot that she has been given, and she has answered emphatically with a win over the champion tonight. Tonight we were supposed to have a fatal four-way with the women to decide who was going to challenge Asuka at WrestleMania, but in true WWE fashion, changing things on the go, only leading to my point earlier, which was this was not in the plans, and they just happened upon this because they realized, shit, we can't put on anything half a damn for Asuka, so let's just give Charlotte the championship. That's what we want to do anyway, right? So let's just do this and let's be on our way. This was a damn good match, though. Charlotte Flair versus Asuka, with every move they made tonight, made a case for the fact that what I said to be true, this should have been a match at WrestleMania. This was a great match for these two girls. They really went out there and put on a show tonight, and Charlotte Flair just this much better on this night, once again, than Asuka, as the Empress of Tomorrow taps out to the figure 8 leg lock. Charlotte Flair is now the SmackDown Live Women's Champion leading into WrestleMania, which is just absolutely crazy. On her way from the ring as champion, Charlotte Flair goes shoulder to shoulder with Kurt Angle, who was coming out for his last matchup on SmackDown Live. I don't know if we're going to have one more on Monday Night Raw before WrestleMania, but this will be the last time we will see Kurt Angle on the blue brand tonight, and he's going to be going up against one of the best of all time, one of his longtime rivals from TNA, and one of the guys that he has put over as one of the best in the world, up on par with Shawn Michaels, which is the phenomenal AJ Styles. And unfortunately, this match was over pretty much before it kind of got started, thanks to the Viper Randy Orton coming out and taking a bite out of AJ Styles and getting the disqualification in this matchup. Winner by DQ is AJ Styles. Kurt Angle's farewell tour gets snake bit by Randy Orton, and after the match, Angle and Orton were... Angle comes back up and lays Orton down with an Angle slam, and then Angle stands tall as his music hits, and that is the end of that. We see Rey Mysterio and Dominic again. Dominic's back, so Dominic's going to play some factor in this fucking match with Samoa Joe. I don't know what it's going to be. Rey's son mentions how Samoa Joe is selfish and he's nothing like Kofi Kingston or his dear old dad. I feel like I'm looking at fucking Oogie Doggy and Doggy Daddy over here. Rey says he will teach Joe a lesson at WrestleMania when he stands up for himself and for his family, and yada yada yada, all the things Rey Mysterio would say. The Miz and Shane McMahon have a segment. I really could care less, and one of the reasons why you shouldn't care, and one of the reasons that you will believe me when I tell you the WWE is just nonsense and just throws things together at the last minute, is because Shane McMahon has security out there, and amongst the security includes this bullshit faction of the, and it's not a legit faction, but there's nothing else to call it. It was the Colognes, Shelton Benjamin, and Sanity. They got nothing better for Sanity to do than to be lumped together with the Colognes to be security for Shane McMahon. When he pay them, here comes the money. Did you get fucking Sanity on your side by paying them? At least show us that. Don't just give us this nonsense. What the fuck are these guys doing out there? What do they give a shit about Shane McMahon? Is he still like the commissioner or something? Like, what are we doing here? Or do they all just fucking hate The Miz? I don't know. All I know is I can't wait for WrestleMania to be over with so that The Miz can go back to being a fucking bad guy, because I can't take this shit. I don't give a shit about The Miz's dad and his face and Shane McMahon wanting to beat his face and whatever. The build to this has already been built. They could have done absolutely nothing for the next 2 weeks, and I would have been fine with just seeing this come to a conclusion at WrestleMania. You don't need to build it up anymore. It's just overdoing it now, and I really could fucking care less. It really was ridiculous. This all breaks down in a way where The Miz single-handedly dispatches of the Colognes, which is easy to believe, Shelton Benjamin, which is not so easy to believe, and then the entire triumvirate of Sanity. One man, one Miz. Miz versus all. And The Miz comes out on top and gets Shane McMahon backpedaling out off the stage. And that's the way this whole thing ends up. Are you fucking kidding me? The Miz single-handedly dispatched Sanity on his own? Never mind Shelton Benjamin, the gold standard, the gold jobber, Sanity. My God. Sometimes I'm glad that I'm not up in the WWE right now. My God. They had time to show us fucking Braun Strowman and Alexa Bliss from the Moment of Bliss last night. We had to talk about Michael Che, the fucking Colin Jost host, fucking retard duo from Saturday Night Live. I don't give a shit. We had to tell the world about it again on SmackDown Live. We couldn't talk about anything else. We had to talk about that. The worst segment of the night. Jesus Christ. And then we had the tag team gauntlet match, Big E and Xavier Woods versus Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson first, which was a fucking surprise to me because as far as I knew, these guys didn't sign their contract. And by the way they went out tonight, you could tell because these guys went out there and got squashed by the New Day in 3 minutes flat. Then would be followed by Rusev and Shinsuke Nakamura. The match would start to pick up, get a lot more physical, and they surprised the world by getting the victory here as well over Rusev and Shinsuke, two former United States champions. And they looked like a couple of jobbers here tonight, but they did put on a decent portion of the match. This match really got good when the bar got involved, and then things really started to pick up and really started to get exciting because the chemistry between the bar and the New Day is off the charts, and they delivered as they always do. And the New Day would just barely squeak by and survive the bar, even though the bar would go out of their way to put the New Day through a table afterwards. Their next opponents, the Usos, who looked like they were going to come out and easily clean things up and get the New Day out of here and kill Kofi Kingston's WrestleMania dreams, did the honorable thing, being friends with the New Day, respecting Kofi Kingston, and for the first time, I think in the history of wrestling, we've seen a team come out there and go, you know what, we're going to forfeit because we got respect for you and we are on your side and we want your guy to go to WrestleMania. Now, you may think that this is a fucking weak-ass move. And part of me thinks that, like, you're the fucking Usos. The Uso Penitentiary shouldn't give a shit about Kofi Kingston's WrestleMania dreams, but the Usos are skating that babyface line, so you're going to have to forgive them just a little bit. Plus, we're dealing with the WWE, and you wouldn't want to have seen the Usos get pinned tonight, would you? Because I certainly would not have, and that would have ultimately been their fate if the mission was to get these guys to run the gauntlet tonight and earn Kofi Kingston his spot. So I was appreciative of the Usos coming out there and doing the smart thing and going, we're not going to get in the way. We want this just as much as you guys want this. We respect what the fans say. We're going to just bow out right here. Good luck to you with your next opponents. We're out. Great. Daniel Bryan and Eric Recycle Rowan throw a hissy fit in the back, which I don't know why they spent all that energy throwing a hissy fit and they didn't just fucking hit the ring and attack as soon as possible. Big E barely had the birds cleared away from his head. They were still eating the pancakes that were circling around his dome after eating that wood from the table. Should have ran right out there and capitalized on the situation, but instead you wanted to kick TVs and throw chairs in the back, Daniel Bryan. Think of all the trees that you hurt by breaking up the wood back there. What, was it okay to throw the chairs around because they were made of plastic? Was it recycled plastic? You almost took out your own man. You almost took out Rowan with that chair. Calm down, dude. The world will be just as safe if you don't throw those chairs around. Daniel Bryan and Eric Rowan hit the ring, and we think this is a no-brainer, and this was going to be the end of it all. However, the New Day would pull this one out. Big E tips over the announce table onto Eric Rowan. The big heavy announce table pinned the legal man to the outside of the ring. This again made it a little bit anticlimactic as the New Day won via countout to secure Kofi Kingston that match at WrestleMania, and it just was okay, it happened. Great. Can we move on now? What are we going to do on the go-home show to finally... Are we going to have a contract signing? Like, what are we going to do? Because there's only one show now left before WrestleMania, and this show, as good as some of the wrestling was on it, just seemed to me to just kick me off my rocker a little bit. Like, it definitely did not... I did not see a lot of the moves happening that happened tonight. I certainly didn't predict another gauntlet match. I certainly didn't think it was going to be Kofi Kingston earning his way in via the other two men in the New Day getting the action on this night. It just seemed a little bit backwards to me, and a big disrespectful slap in the face to Asuka tonight, as she has pretty much just been bumped completely off the card tonight. But props to Charlotte Flair getting her 8th Women's Championship in the WWE, bringing that championship to the main event. And all we could hope for, like we talked about at the beginning, is that this will unify the belts and make one overall women's division, and that could be the legacy of whoever it is that comes out on top, which to me, the more that they raise the stakes in this thing, the less likely Becky Lynch is to come out the winner. Especially when taking into account the new home of SmackDown Live being Fox, some of their demands with Ronda Rousey, and what the very unquestionable future is for the WWE as we come upon this year's WrestleMania and the figurative end of the wrestling year. Thank you guys so much. We've got 1 week left to go before the biggest show of the year, and I hope to see you guys all here all weekend long. We are going to NXT TakeOver. We are going to the G1 Climax event at Madison Square Garden, and we will be here all weekend long to bring you our reviews and previews of everything, including House of Glory's Culture Clash. We are going to get back to covering the greatest independent promotion in all of New York City. Even though I am a part of it now, I am going to do my part, and I am going to be as honest as ever, and this hammer will swing if necessary, no matter what show we are talking about, as WrestleMania weekend looks to be the biggest weekend of the whole entire calendar year for all of us wrestling fans, and I hope you guys decide to spend a lot of that time that weekend right here with us and your new family, right here in the Sledgehammer family of the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, my Sledgehammer Club, full of all of you beautiful, lovely sledgeheads. I look forward to hearing everything you guys have to say in the comment section down below. Don't forget, if you are not already a member of the club and would like to join the family, please consider hitting that subscribe button and make sure you stay notified by hitting that notification bell so that you don't miss a damn thing coming up on this long, twisty, and crazy road to WrestleMania 35. Big shout out and a thank you to the show sponsor, Audible. Audible has over 180,000 books that speak to you. We have an exclusive free trial to all new users at Audible. You can just use audibletrial.com/sledgehammertv and redeem your free audiobook when you sign up for a 30-day free trial. Cancel that free trial at any time before it expires, and you can keep that book for your whole entire life. So you could listen to it 1 minute at a time for 100 days, or you could listen to it all through the entirety of your trip to work or school or whatever it is you're doing, and you could get it for absolutely free, which is always the best price, and you can get it on us. Go to audibletrial.com/sledgehammertv right now and jump on that today. If you have already redeemed this wonderful deal through some other person that you support, then feel free to take this link and spread the news to your friends and family. Offer this up to them and then invite them to come and join all the fun we have here at Sledgehammer TV. And we have the crew here as always. My name is Nick Nightmare, your host with the most. This is Thor the Sledgehammer, the official sledgehammer of the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show and the wrestling god of Thunder. His tag team partner, the world heavyweight champion of all the microphones in all the world, Mr. Blue the Snowball Microphone. And of course, the most important member of the team, as always, is each and every one of you. If you missed Monday Night Raw review, that will be up in the annotations up above. Don't forget to go back and watch it. It was a doozy, or a snoozy, if you want to talk about Monday Night Raw properly. So if you missed it, make sure you go check it out. And don't forget to check out our King Kong Bundy tribute and everything else we have put up over the last couple of weeks. And be sure to stay tuned, because there's a whole lot more coming at you guys all week long from Sledgehammer TV. That, my friends, is going to do it, and we are out of here, and we will see you next time right here on your new favorite wrestling show, the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, only on Sledgehammer TV, right here on YouTube.com. Boom.